Hi, boys and girls. This week we are learning about poetry. When we're learning about poetry, it is important to understand some of the elements of poetry. Poetry uses sounds and rhythms of words to show images and express feelings. Poetry can tell a story, it can describe a situation, or appeal to the senses. Several of the poems that you'll be reading this week definitely appeal to the senses. Poems are put together with a structure and they use literary devices. So understanding poems will help us better, if we understand the elements of poems, it'll help us better understand what the poet is trying to tell us, and with practice, it'll make reading poems more fun. So the structure of poems, we have lines or sentences that are written in lines, and lines of poetry can break in the middle of a sentence or at the end of a sentence. So it's kind of wherever each line of text ends. And stanzas. Poems are organized into stanzas, and that means it's a group of lines within a poem. It's similar to paragraphs in prose, and some poems just have one stanza. You're going to notice that this week's poems all have just one stanza. But if you watch the recording of the long O sounds, the poem at the end has more than one stanza. So you can see an example of both. While many poems contain rhyming words, especially at the ends of lines, not all poems have rhyming pattern. And that brings us to our first literary device, rhyming words. Words with the same ending sounds at the end of lines or stanzas, like bright and light. You might hear something like that at the ends of the lines or at the ends of the stanzas. But not all poems have to have rhyme. Rhythm is a pattern of stressed syllables that create a beat. Makes it really fun to read. Imagery. Words that create images that appeal to the senses. You'll notice that several of your poems that you're reading this week have a very nice use of imagery that really appeal to the senses. Alliteration. Poems use alliteration. That's like the sounds of the words, the same sound or letter. I'm getting alliteration and onomatopoeia mixed up. Alliteration is the same sound or letter at the beginning of words or lines. For example, if I said, Mom made muffins, all of those words start with that is alliteration. Onomatopoeia, that's the one that's fun to say. And that's the one where the word imitates the sound that it represents, like buzz and thud or bang. Repetition is another literary device that poets use. Lines or words are repeated to stress importance. And that helps emphasize maybe a particular idea or word. So poems have all of these different aspects or literary devices, and understanding them helps make reading poems fun. Now, an acrostic poem, which we are going to be reading this week, is a poem that has a specific letter from each line that when you read them together, it spells out a key word. So be on the lookout for that this week. Rhyme and sound devices are fun and playful, and they help the reader notice certain ideas. So really pay attention to those. And, sometimes it just takes a little practice to understand poems. So reading them more than once is very helpful. And that's what we're going to do this week. We are going to practice identifying and explaining the different elements of poetry to gain a deeper understanding of poems. So lots of fun this week. I hope you enjoy. Bye.